What do you think of the new generation?
Very smart, a lot of talent. Makes me feel old answering this question, but
Yeah.
I don't know if the work ethic is the same. I don't know if the drive to succeed is the same with a lot of people. Like, I worked 6 days a week forever, and I missed everything because, and I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not, but that's how bad I wanted it. You have to sacrifice your time, whatever it is that you have going on, if you really, really want something. And I think with the younger generation, I think the willingness and ability to sacrifice is not the same. It's not the same.
So I've been asking a lot of people that question lately, and most people answer that question with they're lazy.
I don't know if it is laziness. I mean, it's easy to say, oh, they're lazy, but I think it's deeper than that.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Today's guest is a former dealership owner, a father of 3, and a true survivor. In just 1 year, he lost his marriage, his business, his home, and even his dogs. Everything that once defined him was gone, but instead of staying down, he rebuilt himself from the ground up and came back stronger. Physically, mentally, and emotionally. Now, as a 20-year automotive veteran, he leads Audi Oakland, a store underneath the Swickard Auto Group. They are a powerhouse dealer group with over 50 dealership locations, serving nearly 500,000 customers a year. Please welcome Daniel Kossut.
I hope I said that either right. Way, that's fine. Yeah, I've been called way worse, so it's all good.
Awesome, man. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me.
Kossut? What's that last name? Where does that originate?
Well, it's kind of Americanized, but my family's Polish. The name was Hungarian. There was an H that dropped off somewhere in history, but both my parents are of Polish descent. So Gotcha. That's where the name comes from.
Okay. So, guys, I normally like to start with a quote, so I'm going to start with a quote here. This one's from Daniel. So, we are stronger, smarter, and much more powerful than we think. Whatever we want to accomplish in life, we can. It's all mindset. But there is a secret to be able to bulldog through the tough things in life and come out on the other side. So what's the secret, Daniel?
You know, I think in life, you just got to decide if you're a victim or a survivor. And it's a chat I've had with so many of my sales teams over the years, and my kids, my friends, my family. It's just... We are so much more powerful than we realize we are. And we're in total control of our lives to a certain extent, when it comes to ourselves internally and our thought process and our mindset and our drive. That is completely on us. And if we want to let other factors in our lives affect that, we can, or we can choose not to allow it to affect us. And it's easier said than done. And I think I've been on both sides of that coin. But I know without a doubt, we have complete control and power over our energy and our intention in life, for sure.
I totally agree with that. I've said before in the past, you can't control what other people do, and you can't control what they say to you, but you can control how you react to what they say to you and outside forces. So you have total control over how you react. So I think you're right. Hit the nail right in the head there. So. When we do these podcasts, guys, we have, our guests fill out a little questionnaire here. So we kind of get to know them before we, just bring them on the air and talk to you guys. So Danny, you've said that your life turned into a bad country song. Your marriage ended, business closed, you sold your house, and you lost your dogs. So how do you keep going when it feels like everything's gone? Well, first of all, tell me what happened, man. How'd the marriage end? How'd the business close? How'd you lose your dogs? What happened?
It's just kind of the perfect storm. I mean, I think it does kind of sound like a country song, right? But, I also believe everything does happen for a reason. I was married for a long time. I got married pretty young. I think I was 25, 26 when I got married. And, kids, family, house, dogs, the whole, white picket fence kind of, thing that I was chasing for a long time. And, sometimes people just grow apart and things just don't work. And no matter how hard you try, in relationships, sometimes It's better for people to go their separate ways. We were married for a better part of 10 years, and, COVID hit, and I think COVID kind of intensified everything for everybody, and reflection on life. And are you happy with where you're at? And kind of reflecting on everything in general. And I think it was just kind of a turning point, for my ex-wife and myself. And, it came to a breaking point. And so that's what happened there. At the same time, my business, I had started my own independent, dealership, did really pretty well through COVID, survived that whole time. But then the cars dried up, and it came to a point, well, where can't source cars, can't source inventory. I have all this overhead. I have a family to take care of. I have all this going. And it just wasn't sustainable. So at the same time as the marriage was falling apart, the business was coming to an end, and all the financial challenges that, both a divorce and a business closing bring to a human being all kind of happened at once. Then house got sold, dogs got old. They passed away within a few months of each other. So everything that I had known to be, my existence, being a father, being a husband, being a business owner, having all the stuff and the things, all of a sudden was wiped away in just a few months. So quite the experience.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, COVID was a game changer for a lot of people in a lot of ways. For better or for worse. Sounds like you got maybe the bad end of that stick. I don't know.
I don't know, but then again, maybe it happened exactly the way it was. I think, I'm wiser. I have more perspective. I think I needed to grow up a little bit, and I needed to have that perspective, and I needed to get, punched in the face from every single angle to, create the mindset and the person that I feel like I am now. I feel like a completely different person than I did. Mm-hmm. If I look back 10 years ago and talk to myself 10 years ago, what would I tell myself? Like, man, probably don't worry so much about what everyone thinks about you, and realize that the things that we do achieve aren't going to define us, but having those goals and having those, aspirations are so important in life, because it keeps the drive going. It keeps us motivated. You have to have something you're working for, and you have to have a why. Otherwise, what's the point? Money comes and goes, I've always said, but time just goes. It's gone. You don't get that back. You can make more money. You can pick yourself up off the ground. But you don't get that time back. So just don't waste time. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So diving in a little bit on your business. So what got you into, starting your own dealership? Because I see a lot of guys like that. I've always said, a lot of these independent lots, some of them are very, very well run and they know what they're doing. And other ones, it's kind of like, I call him like the pissed off sales guy who said, I'm going to go do it on my own. So, why did you start your car dealership? Tell me about that.
Well, I had been in the business for a long time. I started as a salesperson, worked my way up, sales manager, general sales manager. I mean, you name it, pretty much every role you could have in a dealership, at least on the sales side I've had, not on the, fixed on the service side. But it got to a point, where I was in my, early-ish 30s. And it was kind of like, if I don't take this shot now, I'll probably never know if it worked or not. And I'd always regret not trying,
Gotcha. Okay.
So I rolled the dice. I went all in. The dream was kind of to do more classics and consignment vehicles, because I do love cars. I love classic cars, which is a big piece of the business. Of course, you have to love people even more than you love cars for it to work. So I just jumped off the ledge. I just said, if I don't try, I'll never know what would happen. I would never know if it would be successful or not. And I don't know if I knew what I was doing. I thought I knew what I was doing, and the rest of it was kind of fake it till you make it. Yeah. And it just went for it. And somehow it it worked. It was just myself and my business partner, and we sold 20, 25 cars a month with just the two of us, and everything lined up, and it worked until it didn't.
So for people who are listening, because we have a lot of different types of listeners, some entrepreneurial, some people who already own a dealership, when you started that dealership in your early 30s, did you have a lot of money when you started it, or what does it take to start a car dealership?
I didn't have anything. I mean, yeah, I had money, but I didn't, have traditionally what someone would think would put someone in a comfortable situation to start a business like that. I had, my credit was great, and I used that to leverage, but started extremely small. I mean, the first warehouse, I had no salespeople. There was only the two of us, literally. And then we used vendors around the location to recondition the car, to detail the car, to do whatever needed to be done. And we were really lucky. We found an area that had all of that literally right next door. It was incredible. But we started with a 1,200 square foot warehouse that literally could fit 6 cars, like tight. Like you couldn't even walk around them. It was so tight. And the office was microscopic. And we just started there. And it worked, and the overhead was extremely low, and we worked every single day and somehow pulled it off where it became a venture that was making money. Not a ton of money at the beginning, but it was okay.
I mean, you were just flipping cars for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, we lived at the auction. I mean, I'd spend hours figuring out what I was going to go look at. We would go twice a week. I'd have a list of maybe 200 cars. We would literally look at every single car, touch every single car, scan every single car, get that list down to maybe 25 cars, and, buy 5 or 6 and do that over and over and over again.
So what was when you started your dealership, what was like the price range of cars you guys were going for when you started?
Well, our flooring line wasn't that high, so it was kind of more inexpensive vehicles, first time buyer cars, 20 grand or less, that was kind of the niche at the beginning. It was just get the revenue going, get the cars moving, quick flips, and just move on to the next one. And it worked. And then, it kind of, transitioned into more, the odder the car, the funkier the car, the more fun it was to sell, like a 1976 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. That was fun, or a Corvette, I had someone fly all the way in from Canada to buy because he wanted this ZR1 and that was the car. And, those rare odd cars were the fun ones. It wasn't, I'm going to buy the 2-year-old Honda Accords and compete with all the Honda dealers. That's not the thing. It was the older, kind of funky, niche cars
that you're going for.
That would bring the people, because it doesn't matter with used cars. It doesn't matter who you are, what your business is. If you have the right car, the person's going to come find it. So my goal was to find those funky, weird cars that I knew people loved or were looking for. And it worked. Overall, it worked.
So quick question for you, quick answer. Do you have any tips for people who are at the auctions buying cars, on these independent lots? You got any tips for them?
So much is online now, and that was one of the things that really changed with COVID. I mean, I loved going to the auctions. I loved touching the cars. I loved being in the lanes, knew everybody there. I still think that you have a leg up if you're physically going and seeing and touching and feeling the cars and not just clicking online and buying them. You can't smell them. You can read a condition report. You can, do all of that. But especially if you're looking at older cars, there's a reason why every single car is at the auction, right? I mean, it's there because someone else didn't want it. So I think it's even more important to be able to physically see those cars, because you don't make your money selling the car. You make your money when you buy the car, when it comes to used cars. So, that was the reason for the success, if there was any success, was the acquisition part of what we did.
Gotcha. So, so you've been in business for yourself, obviously, and you've been in car sales prior to that and all over the board in the dealership. And now you're a general manager now, right?
I am. I'm lucky enough to be a general manager with Swickard. And it's great. Yeah.
Is that a tough gig to land? Becoming a GM?
It took a long time to find the right place. And, it was always a goal of mine to have that role before I hit 40, and I achieved that goal. And it's just timing, and Jeff Swickard and the whole team, they're awesome. It's a great organization. They're in the people business, not the car business. We always say we're a hospitality company that just happens to be selling cars, and that's always kind of fit in with my mindset and the way I think people want to be treated when they make purchases, especially big purchases, is we're in the people business, and they get that. So it took me a long time. It took a lot of no's. It took a lot of climbing and almost getting there, and then falling down, and then getting back up, and then especially after having my own business for 3 years, it was challenging to get back into the big dealership environment, because where have you been? You haven't been anywhere for 3 years. You had your own business, But that time having my own business made me a better operator, because your perspective changes completely when you're messing with your own money and not taking care of someone else's, right? So your whole concept and your perception, like things that I didn't understand why it was so important to the GMs or the owners that I worked for in the past, all of a sudden it clicked when I'm messing with my own money and my own flooring line. And it's like, oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, right? Because it's money. It's your money. And the level of care and attention to it, I think, that was one of the huge lessons that I learned by having my own business. And it's made me a better car guy and a better operator.
Yeah. So how long have you been a GM for?
I've been here since March. I've been at Audi since March. So I got back into the big stores. I was a GSM at a Honda store. That went really well. And it was just timing, and the opening came up and it was close by, and I was already in Oakland, and they decided to give me a shot, and I'm forever grateful, and I'm excited, and we're growing and building the store. So it's a big challenge. I'd say, before this, I'd say my biggest challenge was my own business. This might take the cake, for sure. Yeah. But it's a great thing.
So your goal came true just this year. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're still fresh into the GM role. What, 6 months in?
I am. I did it previously at a smaller store, at an Infinity store a long time ago. And of course my own store, I ran the whole thing, but a store of this size with this kind of potential. No, this is definitely my largest opportunity I've ever been given. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, congratulations. A little late, but congratulations.
No,
that's
thank you.
Cool.
Never too late.
Yeah. So, being in actually, I want to ask you another question just about, because I drive an Audi.
Yeah.
I got the Audi Q8.
Right.
I just got it. I got it last year. It's badass.
I'm driving one right now. I love it.
Yeah, no, they're good. And then my buddy, he just bought was it the Lamborghini Urus? And I never realized just how close of cousins these cars are.
Very close.
Yeah. I mean, there's, aside from badges and maybe, I don't know, do you know the difference between a Lamborghini Urus and an Audi Q8? Do you know?
A whole bunch of ones and zeros, buddy. A lot of money. That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't pretend to know the intricacies and the difference, but I know they're close. They're pretty close cousins, closer than you'd think they are. So
yeah, somebody told me the same engine, same transmission. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not a details. I like nice cars. I get in the car, it looks nice. If it drives nice, I'm gonna get another one in like 2 years anyway.
I'm with you. I've been a serial leaser for a long time, so I get the car obsession. I totally get it.
Yeah. So being in California, you guys are in a big market out there. So how many cars are you guys on track to sell this year at your store?
Well, the store dipped quite a bit. It's definitely growing back. Getting more inventory from Audi, this shift that's coming with, some of the EV rebates expiring here in California, and the federal credits, is shifting the market for sure. But we've seen big growth this year. I mean, my goal is to get the store back up to, 150 plus a month. We're scratching and clawing our way back to 100 units a month. And we're on track for a good month this month. And it's a great market. I mean, Oakland, the Bay Area, there's so much opportunity. There really aren't that many Audi stores. And it's just all about taking care of the people, giving them the hospitality and keeping that loyal customer base going. You know, if we take care of people, everything's easy. So, you know, we're in a very new remodeled location. We're right next to the freeway. We're right next to Oakland Airport. It's a very welcoming store. It's easy to get to. So, I mean, everything is working in our favor. We just have to have the right people in the seats and, you know, have the right process to take care of everybody. And, you know, we'll shoot to the moon.
So have you heard from the factory very much this year? Like, are you in pretty close contact with your rep? You know, from Audi?
They've been amazing and super supportive, you know, because they want to see the store grow. They want to see it be successful. They've, you know, helped me every which way possible because I had never been with Audi before. You know, I'd done a few other brands over the years, but, you know, learning the intricacies of every manufacturer, it's always a little bit different. And they came in and instantly were, you know, beyond helpful, probably more than any other manufacturer that I can ever remember. And that support and that excitement and that belief in you know, what we can do and create and grow has been a huge motivator. And without that support, you know, I don't think we'd be moving in the right direction as we are. So it's been great.
So what is, you know, so give me the State of the Union address with Audi. Like, how are they doing as a brand this year? You know, is the company as a whole, you know, the Audi brand, are they hitting numbers? Are they down? Because I've heard from some dealers that, you know, the more like domestic brands, you know, the more affordable cars, like numbers are kind of going down, but the higher end stuff is still, you know, on pace.
I mean, I think it's in flux. I mean, the exciting thing with Audi right now is all of the new product that's coming out. I mean, you know, some of the stuff was a little bit, you know, it'd been around for a few years. So with all the redesigns, all the new units coming out, the Q6 is great. The A6, the new A6 is great. They have a lot of fresh product, and they're going to have the freshest lineup out of any of the German luxury brands in the US. So I think that's going to be a big deal as they continue to roll out all of the new product. Obviously, like I said, you know, with the EV adjustment and, you know, those rebates going away, they're kind of adjusting their game plan. Of course, tariffs is part of the conversation for everybody too. But the brand is strong. The loyalty is strong. You know, people that buy an Audi, they love their Audi and they stick with Audi. I mean, we have customers that come in that they're 30, 40 years in. They're like, oh, this is my 12th Audi. I've been buying them since 1988. And, you know, you don't build that kind of loyalty if you don't have a great product. And I think, you know, every manufacturer has their ups and downs and challenges, but it's a blast to drive. I mean, you're driving one, I'm driving the same thing. I didn't really drive Audis that much in the past, here and there, you know, sold a few used. But to be this enthralled with the brand and be driving it every day, it really is an exceptional car. And I've probably owned everything you can think of over the years. So, it's exciting to be with them.
Yeah. I like Audis. They're good cars. It's my second one.
Yeah.
Before that had, you know, two Mercedes before that. And now I switched to Audi. Are they doing any sort of big refresh on the Q8? Probably not, right? It's still pretty new.
Q8, you know, I think is going to be, you know, gone for a little while. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're really focusing on, you know, the new Q5 is great. The A6, they're redoing the sedans. You know, the Q6 has been a big focal point, and it's just shifting a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't know what the long-term plan is. But I love the Q8. It's one of my favorites for sure. I mean, it's a driver.
Yeah, definitely it is. So, you know, one of the things that you had mentioned is that you really like, you know, coaching and helping, you know, young people grow in business. I assume you're kind of referring to like your sales guys on the floor out there, because they're kind of like entrepreneurs, you know, sales guys. I don't know how they're compensated at your guys' group, but for the most part, it's a commission only gig with a real small draw or something like that. So what do you see as you know, the biggest mistakes that, you know, new salesmen are making in their first year?
Well, I mean, I started in this business as a salesperson. I didn't have anything. I'd never seen $1,000 at one time. And this business gave me everything I've ever achieved and accomplished and acquired and lost at the same time. But
Yeah.
it's been so good to me. And anybody that has the drive and the ambition, and is open to learning and really open to, being trained, can be extremely successful in this business. You don't have to love cars. I do think you have to be a people person. I think you have to love people and talking to people and be genuinely interested in people, but you don't have to love cars to be great at the car business. It can be, there are not that many other jobs. I really can't think of one that you can just walk into with, not a massive amount of education, without any training, and just go for it. And you can make couple $100,000 a year if you play your cards right, and you can go up the chain and become a manager or whatever it is you want to do, so what the business did for me, I'm very passionate about, because it completely changed my life, as a 20-year-old kid. And I want to pay that forward. I want to see other people be successful and have the same trajectory or better, than I did, and I was lucky when I started selling cars in 2005. I worked with guys that sold cars in the 60s and 70s, and they were so old school, and they were so good with people, and they were so great on the phone. I mean, I'm only decent at what I do because people that were way better than me took me under their wing and taught me everything. They didn't keep the book closed and keep it all a secret. They wanted me to be successful. They wanted me to do well. And so, paying that forward is really important to me. And I love seeing people become successful. I love hiring people that have never sold cars before, because I was that kid. I was that guy. And then seeing them soar and crush it and change their lives is better than the financial rewards of being in this business to me. I absolutely love that part of what I do.
So what is the biggest mistake that you see these rookie sales guys make in their first year, if you had to pick one?
They don't have the patience. They don't take the time. They don't allow enough time to become great. Everybody, this instant gratification thing that we live in 2025, everyone wants everything yesterday. And a lot of people don't really want to work for it. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes falling on your face. It takes failing over and over and over and over again until you start getting some success. There's no easy path. There's no cheat button. There's no code that all of a sudden you're going to be a rock star in sales, whether it's selling houses, selling cars, selling software. It doesn't matter. It's the lack of perseverance and grit is usually what it is. People just give up and run away because it's hard. And it is hard. It can be the hardest job and the easiest job all at the same time.
So you work with, are a lot of your sales guys younger guys?
Yeah.
Or girls?
Yeah.
Younger guys and girls. What do you think of the new generation?
Very smart, a lot of talent. Makes me feel old answering this question, but I don't know if the work ethic is the same. I don't know if the drive to succeed is the same with a lot of people. I worked 6 days a week forever, and I missed everything and I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not, but that's how bad I wanted it. And I think you have to sacrifice your time off. You have to sacrifice whatever it is that you have going on if you really, really want something. And I think with the younger generation, I think the willingness and ability to sacrifice is not the same. It's not the same.
So I've been asking a lot of people that question lately, and most people answer that question with they're lazy.
I mean, I don't know if it is laziness. I mean, it's easy to say, "Oh, they're lazy," but I think it's deeper than that. I don't know what it is, but there's just a different mindset, and there's a different set of values, and there's a difference in what is important and not important. And that's why I go to drive and sacrifice, because I think people want to do well, but I think a lot of people are not willing to do what it takes, if that makes sense. And yeah, some of them are lazy. Let's go with
that. That's where I would, that's where I look at sales guys in a car dealership as kind of like the entrepreneur. They're working within a business, and creating their own destiny within a business, and you guys have the brand deals, you got the financing options, you got the inventory, you did everything for them. All I have to do is just come on there and get the people to buy.
That's right.
And you can make just about as much money as you want to make, working in the car business. So, let me ask you this question, and for the sake of time, let's keep it a quick one here. Sure. But how many cars a month at an Audi dealership do you think a sales guy needs to sell to make six figures? If you had to just spit out a number.
20
cars. Okay. So 20 cars a month. That's what, less than one a day. How many days a week they got to work?
Hey, that's 6? Up to you. I mean, the guys that are crushing it, they're going to come on their days off. They're going to do what they need to do to make the deals. It takes more than a 5-day work week to be successful, especially when you start. If you're 10 years in, sure, you work by repeat referral. You have your book of business. You can come and go as you please. You don't even have to have a schedule. But it's 6 days on average plus to achieve that, especially walking in and never have sold in cars before. You have to really want it. Especially to do it consistently. It's one thing to have one good month, and then
but sell 20 cars every month, hit them numbers. Yeah. That's you definitely got to want it. People don't. I think not enough people want it bad enough.
You have to want it, and it takes a special kind of crazy to do this for sure. But it can. It's the most rewarding, and it can be the most fun. If your heart's in it and you're receptive to the training, and you know what's possible, and you can push through the tough times, then you really can reap the benefits. 1,000%.
Absolutely. So let's refocus on the GM aspect of this conversation here. So, as a general manager, you're essentially running, like a multi-million-dollar business inside of a larger organization.
Sure.
So, what's the first thing that, any entrepreneur, whether you're in car sales or, you own a lawn care business, what's something that, an entrepreneur should know about, managing cash flow? Like, are you, as a GM of this store, are you responsible for managing the cash flow?
Sure. I mean, every aspect of the store, right? I mean, our job is to make gross and retain gross, right? So that you have a profitable store. Part of that is, hitting budgets, hitting metrics, hitting the expectations, because it's all there in black and white. If you do XYZ, you're going to get, a certain result. If you don't, you're not going to get there. So it's constant tracking. It's being on top of, now not one department, 3 departments. It's parts, service, and sales, right? And for the whole machine to work and for the whole thing to be profitable, everybody has to be firing on all cylinders, for lack of a better term. Otherwise, it doesn't work, and what's the biggest piece for? Really, it's the team. It's the staff. If you don't have the right people, nothing is ever going to work. Nothing is ever going to work. It's all about the people. It's all about the team, and it's all about the customers. And if you have the right people, and they're all on board, and we're all working towards the same mission, and we know what our goals are, we know what our budgets are, we know what we have to achieve to be successful personally and holistically as a store, we'll crush it. But if you don't have the right people, it doesn't work.
So people is that when I was doing a podcast, I was telling you before the show, I did a podcast last week with, Aaron Ziegler, Ziegler Automotive, and those guys harp on people. Like that is all. And you said the same thing. You guys have the same thing. You guys, would you call yourselves a hospitality company that happens to sell cars?
Yeah, we're in the hospitality business and we happen to sell vehicles. That's what it is.
Yeah. And that's a lesson I've definitely learned myself this year. And I think anybody who's listened to a couple of my episodes, I mean, you've heard people say the same thing over and over again, guys. It's just the people. Surround yourself with good people. But the thing that nobody really wants to tell me though is how they find the good people. So how do you find good people to hire?
You get lucky. It takes a lot. you interview a lot of people, you go with your gut, you hire a lot of people, and a certain percentage of them stick, and it's a constant process. If you ever stop, recruiting and looking and seeking for the right people, your team will fall apart, even if you have a great team. And the biggest job here has been growing the team and getting the right people in. And as the right people have arrived and the wrong people have stepped away, you see the shift in the store. You feel the energy. You see the customers are happier. It reflects in the numbers. We still have a ways to go before we get to where we want to be, but that is the key.
So it's a rinse and repeat process until you dial it in.
You can't stop. You have to always be recruiting. You have to always be looking. You always have to be talking to people. Yeah.
So when you're hiring, do you have a question that you ask every new hire, or do you have any sort of workflow when you're hiring new people?
Well, it depends on the role, right? But I mean, I guess I could just talk about hiring salespeople. I just want to talk to them. I just want to see what they're all about. And the real question is, would I buy a car from this person? Do they have the personality? Or would I send my mom to this person? Would I be like, yeah, you can sell my mom a car, right? So if I'd buy a car from them, if my mom would buy a car, and she's way tougher than me, if I'd buy a car from them and she'd buy a car from them, I think I'm on the right track. But if my gut says, I don't think I'd put this person in front of my mom or my family or anybody, it's probably not the right hire. So
fair enough. That's a really good way to think about it. Very good way to think about it.
Yeah, because, you can ask a bunch of canned interview questions. And like I said, I love hiring people that have never sold cars before because they just come in fresh, with a whole different perspective. And I think that's important now because the business has changed a little bit. And it's all about people. So if it's all about taking care of people, is this person in front of me going to take care of the people that are coming in the door? And do they really want it? Are they really hungry, and do they really want it?
Yeah, tough qualities to find. So fair enough. I'm just thinking here. So you'd mentioned earlier in the conversation, you said there's 3 departments. So you got sales, service, and parts is what you said?
Yep.
Well, what about finance? Isn't there 4?
Finance is part of sales, right? I mean, that goes under so there's the variable and then there's the fixed. So variable is going to be sales, which is everything, salespeople, sales managers, general sales manager, finance department, the whole sales process, right? And everyone that falls under that umbrella. And then the fixed department is going to be your service and your parts teams who work, congruently together.
So being the GM now for this first year, at your store, what's your least favorite department? Well, least favorite. You have your favorite and your least favorite. Which one do you say is your least favorite?
Well, I'd say for me, service is probably the most challenging because it's, I have knowledge and I've learned so much this year, but it's not my wheelhouse,
Gotcha.
But then again, sales has been really challenging. So that's what I've lived in for 20 years. So at the moment, because the numbers aren't where I want them to be and the team isn't where I want them to be. And I don't think you ever are happy with where you are in sales. You always want more. You want to adjust. You want to fine tune. I'd say right now it's sales. And that's what I've been living in for forever. So at the moment, sales.
Sales.
It depends on the day, depends on the situation.
So let's break this down because I like to get technical because hopefully people listening to this, we can share some ideas, So right now as a GM, your sales department is the department that you're struggling with. So what are some levers that you can pull as the GM to improve your sales department? Like, what are you going to do?
Selling cars is a very simple business that most people overcomplicate. And like I said, it goes back to people, but it's also process, right? There has to be consistency. You have to have a process. The process really hasn't changed over the years. But when you have a team that is following the process, that is not deviating, and everybody's moving in the same direction, things tend to go really well. So number 1, people. Number 2, process. And how do you put that in? It's training. It's constant training. It's the managers being entrenched in it. It's me being entrenched in it. And just keeping things simple, and keeping that hospitality mindset is so important because people buy from people that they like. Think about where you like to go, where you like to shop, where you spend your money. There's usually, or where you like to dine. There's a common denominator there. And
Yeah.
it's usually the service, and it's usually the people that you're interacting with. The food could be great, but if the people are not, you probably aren't going to go back. It's not going to become one of your regular spots.
No,
and
definitely not.
My store needs to be a regular spot for our people.
Well, and you guys said you had a newer store though, so maybe it's not quite dialed in. Yeah.
I think there was just a lot of change. There was a lot of turnover. COVID kind of turned every store kind of upside down and inside out. And then the market has, shifts and things change. And I think it's a great store. It always has been a great store. It's just, having the right people with the right mindset is everything. I keep going back to that, but I can't say, the brand is an issue. No, the brand's great. The location, no, the location's great. The facility, no, the facility's great. Inventory, no, we got the inventory. It's just people. Yeah. So if I have the right people, everything moves in the right direction.
So as a general manager, running a multi-million-dollar car business, what is, when you look at your reports, what is the, the first metrics that you look at, before you check anything else? What's your go-to metric?
Well, you have to have a daily pulse on what's going on in your store. You have to know where you're tracking, is sales. We can talk sales. Is the volume where it needs to be? Is the gross where it needs to be? Or is one really tilted to the other? Where do we need to dial something back or dial something up? You have to have a constant pulse on everything that's going on. Same with service. Do we have enough appointments? Are we closing things out fast enough? Are the customers getting back, picking up their cars quick enough? Do we need more technicians? It's a constant balancing act in every single department. Yeah. And if you take your eye off it for 1 second, boy, howdy, things can go really haywire. So it's really empowering the managers in those departments to really own and take care of it. And for me to oversee it and make sure we're moving in the right direction, and to be, arm in arm with the managers and the rest of the team to make sure that, we're doing the right thing and we're moving in the right direction. And we're not. We got to take a time out. We got to figure out what we need to tweak and adjust to continue to move, in the direction that we want to move to get the results we need. Because it's a results-based business. If you don't get the results, none of it pencils.
So. Yeah, you don't get the results, no one has a job.
Nope. That's exactly right.
So let's talk about the finance department for just a quick minute. How are finance rates right now on Audis? Is it a good time to buy an Audi from a finance perspective, or anything good going on there?
With the luxury brands, there's a lot of leasing, right? So, the percentage of retail deals versus lease, I'm talking about new cars, huge swing. I'd say we're probably 75% lease, something like that. Wow. And, money factors translate into rates as well. And they're a little bit, higher than they were. But I think things have leveled out a little bit, and then there are some specials on certain vehicles. It's all relative. I remember, 15 years ago, the credit unions were fighting with, who's going to give 1.9% or 1.79%. Now it's, 7, 8, 9%. And that's become the norm over the last few years. So I think, manufacturers always need to sell cars. Dealerships always need to sell cars, and they have to find a way to do that irrespective of what the market or what the rates are. So, incentives will adjust, things adjust, and it is a good time to buy a car, especially right now. If you want an EV before the end of the month, I don't think these rebates and incentives will ever come back, really. Once a $7,500 federal credit is gone, the odds of it coming back are pretty slim. So, that would be something that, should be handled this month, unless, you want to spend another 10, 12 grand, because that's going to happen.
So, for the other dealerships out there at an Audi store, Do you guys, does it matter to you guys if people are buying or leasing, or, do you prefer one or the other as a GM?
I want you to lease. I want to see you back in a couple of years. You know what I mean?
True.
I want your car back. I want to sell it as a CPO. I want to put you in a new one. I want to see you in the service drive. And the beauty of that is when you're leasing is you don't have massive, repairs. You don't have, major stuff going on because you're driving the car for the best part of its life.
Yeah.
But some people buy their cars and they run them into the ground and they keep them forever. And that's great. But, from an operator, point of view, and, if I was, a salesperson, I don't want to lease your car because I don't want to see you in 8 years. I want to see you in 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
So,
that's a very good point.
Leasing is a beautiful thing.
I love leasing. Yeah. If you can get a good deal on the lease,
And cars are so expensive. I mean, if you're going to buy an $80,000, $90,000 car, what is your retail payment going to be versus a lease? Do I really want to spend $2,500 a month, or you know what, $800 doesn't sound that bad, and then I get to make my decision at the end of the lease. If I love it, I can buy it, or I can just grab something else.
So we're going to do some rapid fire questions here. We're going to wrap up the podcast here. We're going to keep them short answer, rapid fire questions, just to kind of get some hopefully some good value to the people who are listening to this from a GM's perspective. And they're going to be, some tough questions, but just answer them the best that you can. So the first question I'm going to start with is, if you had to double your F&I profits in the finance office in the next 12 months, what's the first move you'd make?
Well, double my F&I profits,
I don't know if it can be done, but just for the sake of the question, what can you do?
Probably get another finance manager and do some package selling. I mean, really, you'd have to be strict with the products, have someone that really knows how to pitch them. They need to be presented early by the salespeople, and it has to be a focal point for the whole store. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So as a general manager, what's the hardest decision you've ever had to make so far?
It's the same decision that I had to at lower level management is, when you have to make the decision to let someone go. That's always been the absolute hardest thing to do. And I've done it many, 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 many times. And I never enjoy it. And I always feel sick about it because at a human level, it just is no fun, but it's a very important, very critical decision as to, the operation of the business. If someone just isn't making it or is detrimental somehow to the store or the energy or the environment, that decision has to be made. But I don't take it lightly, and I don't enjoy it. But, that's a tough one. But that's the job. Yeah,
I think that's a pretty common answer. It's always hard letting people go, but sometimes
I think some people really do enjoy it and they get a power trip off of it.
Really?
I've seen people that actually enjoy letting people go, and not me. It doesn't feel good, but you have to do what you have to do, big picture for the store and make those tough decisions.
The business comes first. Yep. The company's got to eat before anybody else.
Yep.
So let me ask you this question. What we do here at my company is, we work with dealerships. We help them make more money through extended warranties and reinsurance. So from, my point of view and your point of view, what gets a general manager's attention? What are their hot buttons in a dealership?
Like staff wise, or just
as a general, what's something that every GM or that you experience that you go, man, if I could just wave a magic wand to make that disappear tomorrow, or something, just something. What gets your attention? What are hot button issues for you at your store? What are challenges that you face as a GM?
Customers not getting responded to fast enough, or their questions not getting answered quickly, or them not being able to get to the right person in the store, especially when they call in. That's vital. And it's always a challenge anywhere I've ever been. I know, people, we get busy. There's people in front of us. But taking care of the customer all the way around, doing the right thing for the customer, giving them that same level of service as we did when they came in and bought their car or serviced it. When they have an issue, that's really our time to shine and stand out. And sometimes we do a great job and sometimes we do not. And those times that we don't, are not fun. And we know that, that could have been handled better. And that's fine as long as we learn from it and we don't keep repeating our mistakes. But just simple not getting back to people and handling, issues immediately is a challenge, as we call it in the business, customer heat, if you will. But it's part of taking care of people. It's part of hospitality. And that could always be better. We could always do a better job there.
Well, that kind of leads me to another thought as you're talking about that. So being part of this large dealer group, because at 50 stores, serving 500,000 customers a year, are you guys taking advantage of, AI at all in your guys' organization? Are you guys doing anything with AI right now? It's a hot button topic for a lot of people.
I think that, to a certain extent, I think there probably is some when it comes to used vehicle pricing and getting some of the data and the analytics in what we do. But at a human level, no, it's human interaction and human interaction. If you call us, you get someone on the phone, you don't get an automated system, or you talk to someone in our BDC center, or, you can call in, you can reach me. So I think there's value there when it comes to, data as to what we do and how we do it. But again, I still think it's a people business first, and you can't replace the human interaction and the connection that you make, one-on-one with people.
I agree with you. I like AI, but at the same time, I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a whole new bag, right? But I think like any great tool, it can be a great thing or a not great thing. It's how you apply it and how you choose to use it, and what you take from it. And every business, everybody has to decide how they tackle that and perceive that.
Next question for you. Probably one of the last ones here. We're about to wrap this thing up. Okay. But what is, looking around at your peer groups around you, other dealerships, the competition, what's one of the worst sales tactics you're seeing in the car business right now?
Well, I don't like salespeople standing outside and jumping on people when they pull in. That typical, I mean, back in the day, it was normal. It was salespeople. Oh, you got to stay outside. Don't come in unless you have an up. You can't be inside. If I pulled up to a dealership and saw that, I probably wouldn't get out of my car. I just, it's not super welcoming. I mean, I understand the concept, but it just doesn't work in 2025, I don't think. And it wouldn't give me warm and fuzzies as a customer. So I guess with that question, I go to what would turn me off if I pulled up to a store. That would be the number one thing.
Yeah. Just,
if I walk in, someone welcomes me, hands me a bottle of water, is chatty, is friendly, I'm good, but let me get out of my car. Let me get in the door. Then we could have a chat. So.
Yeah. They meet you at your car door. It drives me nuts. I'm like, dude, no, I'll come to you. Like, I'm just going to walk around for a bit.
You pulled up. So, I mean, I shouldn't have to worry too much that you're not going to, I'll open the door for you. I'll invite you in. I'll say, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
But I don't need to be beating on the glass on your car,
Yeah.
That wouldn't make me want to spend a whole bunch of money. So.
No, definitely not. I'm going to ask you one last off the cuff question here.
Okay.
Just because I like to hit a range of topics, and this one will get a little bit political for just 1 second here. Just topic of the week. I've been seeing this all over the news, and being in California, you live in an interesting state. So Donald Trump is deploying, the National Guard troops into major cities, and it's a bold move. Do you think it's an overreach, or do you think it's necessary in some cities from a California guy's point of view? What do you say?
I don't know the right or wrong in there. It doesn't seem necessary to me. Somehow we've gone all these years and without that kind of intervention in cities and in law enforcement. And, we're in Oakland. Oakland doesn't need that. Oakland has their challenges and, is in a growth period and a transition period, and there's a lot of great things going on. But I don't think there's anything going on in any major city that would warrant that kind of intervention, at least that I've seen, currently. But that's my opinion, right? I think it's probably a little extreme, and I think there's probably other things that we could better spend our time, energy, and tax dollars on personally. So.
Fair enough. So, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the podcast here. Daniel, are you on social media at all? Do you hop around on?
I'm on LinkedIn. That's about it. I don't dive deep into anything else, but yeah, I am around.
Okay. So you can find Daniel on LinkedIn if you guys are interested in, headhunting or something. I don't know who's out there, but he seems like a good guy. And his name is Daniel, and then Kossut.
Yes, sir.
Daniel Kossut is how you can find him. And for people out there who are in the market of buying a car, honestly, I really like what Daniel said so far about the Swickard Group and their hospitality mindset. That when people lead with that and just kind of putting the focus on the customer experience and not so much the car sales or, how much money we're going to make and, blah, 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 blah. I like it. So I think people first mentality is the way to go. And clearly it's been working for them. These guys have got 50 locations. So there's lots of opportunity out there. So if you guys are looking to buy a car, head on down to Audi of Oakland and or give them a call. But Daniel, thanks so much for hopping on, and pleasure having you. Guys, we will catch you on the next one.